Situation on the border with Syria is top of the agenda there. And to discuss this, we're joined by TRT World's defence analyst, Oubai Shahbandar, and also Michael Doran, who's a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute.
Well, Maria, absolutely. Syria is really at the top of the agenda here with the countdown for the end of the operational pause coming up here within just a day. And here with me all the way from Washington, D.C. is Michael Doran, a senior fellow at Hudson Institute. Dr. Doran, if you were in Washington right now, what would you advise President Trump in terms of the next steps forward for the U.S. presence in Syria?
Well, I'd try to put the emphasis on the importance of the Turkish-American relationship. I think that's where President Trump's head is, by the way. I think he sees that the strategic prize in this whole situation is the orientation of Turkey. But he's got a lot of pressure on him to put sanctions on Turkey, to take actions, I think, that would really damage U.S.-Turkish relationship.
So where do you think we are right now in terms of the strategic partnership between the U.S. and Turkey, given where Operation Peace Spring is? Are you optimistic in terms of the way forward?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I was very happy to see that they came up with a deal, but I can see how things could really go wrong. I mean, if the fighting continues, if there's a lot of killing of civilians, then Donald Trump is going to come under a lot of pressure to sanction Turkey, and I could see then Turkey moving closer to the Russians and the Iranians. I think President Trump wants better relations. I think President Erdogan wants better relations, so I'm hoping that the desire on the two sides and the mutual recognition of that they have more to gain by working with each other than by moving apart will see this thing forward.
Now, the president has gotten a lot of flack from the many Washington pundits for essentially moving U.S. forces out of the way as the Turkish forces in the Free Syrian Army advance. Many have criticized the president for not supporting the YPG, which of course is the extension of the PKK terror group. From your perspective, is there now an opportunity for the U.S. and Turkey to work closer in fighting terrorism, whether it's Daesh or whether it's other terror groups in Syria?
I think yes, absolutely. Now that we don't have there's the potential now not to have friction right on Turkey's border. I think we can begin a new era of cooperation. But first, we have to improve relations. I mean, the military-to-military relationship is at a low point. There's a lack of trust on both sides. So I think what we really want from President Erdogan and President Trump is to start rebuilding that trust.
Do you think the folks at home in Washington, D.C. understand what the YPG or the PKK is?
I don't think that there's a deep understanding, even in American official circles. Obviously, the people who are most involved in the relationship understand it very well. But I think once you get to the second and third circles beyond that, there's really a lot of misconception.
From your perspective, how's President Trump's Syria policy going so far?
I think he's doing what he said. Obviously, the situation in Syria is still horrendous from the point of view of the Syrians. I mean, nobody knows that better than yourself. But I think President Trump is actually doing what he said he was going to do.